Okay.
I would like to call to order the Wyoming Valley West School District work session for Wednesday, October 12th.
Rick, you have to speak up, I think, more into your microphone. I don't think.
I would never say that, but I agree.
For informational purposes, there was an executive session held prior to this meeting to discuss contract issues and personnel items.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
We have a presentation this evening from Couth Mental Health Services Program provided. This for the regular meeting, sir. So we have
Yeah.
we have a presentation this evening from Couth Mental Health Services. There was an informational meeting held by 4 board members attended. We had a preliminary from this company and SiteLog IQ that was held on October 5th in the conference room. At that meeting, there was 4 board members who were present for that. These 2 companies agreed to come. We thought it was worth sharing to the board, so we asked them to come back and present. Mr. Thomas, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you very much. Let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Thomas. I'm here representing Couth. I'm actually a nurse by background, spent the last 25 years in the healthcare information services world. I thought I retired last fall, but I got recruited by this company. Couth is out of the UK and has been in the, I'll say, youth mental health business for the last 20 years and bringing technology and leveraging technology to help in the youth mental health crisis that exists not only here in this country, but around the world. I'm also a 1978 graduate of Wyoming Valley West. I was the last graduating class from this building, as a matter of fact. So it brings a lot of memories back when I come here. I'm happy to answer questions. I know we sent out or the information was sent out. I actually have a very short video that I want to show. I think in 3 minutes, it actually covers it very well. But let me, before I talk or put the video on, which will describe Couth and the service, and talk a little bit about this Pennsylvania pilot. What's happened is the state of Pennsylvania has contracted with Couth to deliver a pilot across 30 to 35 school districts to as many as 150,000 students across Pennsylvania in a geographically diverse distribution across the state. And so we are launching that now. The contract has been finalized with Couth and the state. I want to mention that one of our local state representatives, Representative Coffer, was actually a catalyst behind this. He's been a person who's led behavioral health kinds of initiatives, and he introduced us to folks in the Capitol, and we had many meetings with a variety of folks across all of the legislators, and they decided that they were going to include this pilot in budget this year. So it is no cost to any of the school districts who decide to participate in the pilot, and it will run for this school year. I can also tell you that Couth will be opening offices in the United States, and that first office will actually be inside of the district of Wyoming Valley West. So I think it would be great to have you all on board as well. And so if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and show the video. I think it'll help. You're also the first folks seeing this video. It's fresh off the press as well, and actually has a few edits we'll probably make to it in its final version, but I think it does a good job of explaining it.
We are in the middle of a youth mental health crisis. Among students aged 12 to 17 in the US, 1 in 3 have persistent feelings of sadness. 4 in 10 have issues that are currently going untreated. 1 in 6 have made a suicide plan. Despite continued investment in the Pennsylvania school mental health system, demand for support outstrips supply, and a nationwide shortage of qualified counselors is preventing our students from getting the help they need. We have to take a different approach in how we're offering mental health support to our children by focusing on prevention, not just treatment. The state of Pennsylvania is launching a pilot program across a number of school districts to provide the next generation of mental health support, focused on providing fast and early help to tackle these problems before they escalate. This gives our young people a safe platform to get the support they need, quickly, anonymously, and on their own terms. The service provides instant access to a library of self-help content, moderated anonymous forums, journaling, goal setting, and therapeutic activities in one easy-to-use website. Young people will be able to build up basic emotional skills and resilience so that when they feel down, frustrated, or angry, it will feel less like falling off a cliff and more like stepping into a puddle. And if they need professional support, Couth's counselors will be available with one-to-one chat texting sessions that will work alongside school counseling teams, extending service hours to reach more students. And it's at no cost to the young person, their parents, or their school.
I just want to say thank you for everything.
I've never felt pressured using Couth, and I'm in control.
Couth is an amazing place. I feel safe and open to talk on here.
Couth has been designed over the last 20 years to provide a safe, welcoming space where no issue is too big or too small. We can demonstrate a reduction in suicide, self-harm, crime, and destructive behaviors while providing a positive community impact and increasing educational attainment. So, what can you do to help improve the mental health of young people in your district? It's simple. Register your interest and join the free Couth pilot program. To find out more information and express interest in Couth in your district, email pennsylvania@couth.com. Couth Digital Health, supporting young minds in Pennsylvania.
Hopefully some of that came across, but the important thing to understand is that this will be provided, access can be provided to every student from grades 6 through 12. And those students will have the ability to access actually in what we call a pseudo-anonymous way. So we will know who they are behind the scenes, but they can actually create their own screen names. But they'll have access to 3 levels of care. The self-directed care, really, again, where 65% of the students spend their time. They learn the skill sets and the coping mechanisms that they need to be able to handle the kind of things that come up during the course of their lives. The second is a peer-to-peer interaction. That's a monitored peer-to-peer interaction, and it's actually the secret sauce to Couth. It allows students first and foremost to communicate with each other, but do it in a way that's safe. It's a safe environment, so nothing gets posted until it's reviewed by one of our counselors. It's also completely monitored, so we can see what's going on. It's actually a place where we identify some students who are in crisis. What we find from that is it really helps the student understand they're not alone. They're not by themselves. There's others who have the same kinds of feelings. And then finally, as you may have heard there, it has the ability to connect with a counselor in real time textually. And they can do that in real time. And sometimes it will be also some follow-ups where they'll can schedule time to chat with that counselor as well. All of that is included as a part of the service. If you decide to move forward, we will kick off very quickly. We'll have our group here on site to kick off. Most of that is focused around getting your counselors and others informed of the program. We put in place also for your school district, what's our escalation route, so that if we identify a student who has a serious issue or we're concerned about their physical safety, we have a process to escalate for that particular school district, and each one will be a little different. And then we'll get launched. Much of the launch is also about how do we market this to the students? How do we get the word out to the students to get them to sign up? As far as parental permission goes, most school districts are going to probably choose an opt-out system. So the parents can decide to opt out, in which case their student wouldn't be allowed to sign up. Let me stop there. I'll take questions. And happy to answer questions from the audience as well.
If the audience would like to address the speaker, by all means, please do.
I'm just gonna speak into the speaker, just so everybody can hear me. I appreciate the presentation. and
Excuse
I-
me, Mr. Baldwin, could
Yeah.
you please state your name?
I'm sorry.
for the
Yep.
Address. and
Yep,
the-
it's James Baldwin. I'm from West Wyoming. So I did have an opportunity to do a little research on Huth prior to this meeting. And the one thing that I didn't really hear in this presentation tonight, and what I could gather online, is there's not a whole lot of where the parent fits into this mental health issue. And, I have a number of issues that I'm just gonna say my thoughts and then you could just address them maybe. But why is something as important as mental health of our children being a focus in the school system? I understand there's issues with mental health, but our kids are in school to learn. We send our kids to school for an education, not to work on their mental health.
I think it goes hand in hand. It's a tool. I mean, mental health is a big issue out there, Mr. Baldwin, in my opinion. So I just think it's another tool that we're adding. We're not trying to, guide the students, just giving them another tool.
To Mrs. Cassatt's point, I feel it's another tool in our toolbox. We already have professional staff. Mr. Tosh, if you can, please, and we already have agreements with professionals that the children and the families can kind of come in and see. This is a little bit different. This gives the child more access to it. And the family's approach is, that's a family decision. That's a family discussion. But I feel I was elected to sit here to give my constituents all the options available to them, that maybe it doesn't work for your family, Mr. Baldwin, but it certainly might work for your neighbors.
Right, and there was,
Can I address your question?
sure.
So your question is about interfering with the school day, et cetera. The vast majority of usage of Couth actually happens after the school day. It allows the student 24/7 access, and that's where we see most of the access for the self-help and absolutely for the direct counsel. It happens after the school hours.
So what you're saying is these are on the school issued computers?
They can be from any device. They
Okay,
can
so,
be from any device. They can be from their phone. They can be from any.
and now do parents have an ability to monitor what's happening on the program?
They can if they monitor what their child is doing online.
But now in your presentation, you stated that there is a pseudo anonymous system. So that means the school knows what's going on, correct? So you would know what's going on?
Yeah, let me clarify that. Part of the reason for the pseudo-anonymous is because you want to allow the students the ability to feel comfortable to share, particularly in the peer-to-peer. And so they create their own screen name. But when they sign up for Couth, and it's their option to sign up, if they sign up for Couth, they do so with their school email address so that we know who they are and we can identify who they are in the situation where you have an escalation, somebody who might be, we're concerned about their physical, potentially physical harm or something along those lines.
So if there was concerns about physical harm based on this app, somebody in the school district or through the program is going to be aware and they can make the referral. But the parent, they're not going to have a backdoor access to what our kids are posting on there, correct?
There is not a parental sign-in to the peer-to-peer. There is not. No, I mean, it would only be if they were and with their child exchanging or looking at what their child was doing. Keep in mind that in the state of Pennsylvania, at the age of 14, child has their own ability to go get mental health services with or without their parents' consent.
Yes, I am aware of that, but it's my understanding this would start in the middle school, so probably some kids would fall before that age 14, right? So I guess obviously, just hearing that, you understand that as a parent, I have concerns about what my kid's doing online, whether it's through a Couth program, whether it's through any type of social media. And from what I gather, this is another form of social media. You have your kids going on there, they're communicating with other kids. There's open forums and they're communicating with other students that, and from what I understand, hey, I'm going through something, how did you deal with this? And from what, again, if you can correct me at any point, but it sounds like, yeah, I'm struggling with this. this is how I deal with it. But okay, you're a parent. You might not want Billy talking to Johnny. Johnny might not be the best person to give advice. And as a parent, I'm not gonna have an opportunity to monitor that situation. I don't know who he's talking. And if it's available 24 hours a day, we know how kids are. They can go into their app, they can go on there. I'm just on my school computer. We don't know, but
I think he said, to stop, that it's a monitored system by a counselor and before anything's posted.
Nothing's posted unless it's actually reviewed by a COOS professional counselor. And the COOS professional counselors are in real time monitoring the conversations that are going on, because it is a place where sometimes we identify a student in crisis.
Mr. Thomas, it's certainly not an open forum like Facebook or Twitter,
No.
TikTok or
And again,
Snapchat or whatever these kids do.
It's a student's choice, and the parents can opt out for the student. So,
And-
if a parent doesn't want a student to participate, they can.
And
that's
Mr.
only up until the age of 14.
That's again between the parent and the student.
Mr. Baldwin, I mean, we're kind of running out here in 5.5 minutes now. I mean, if you could just wrap it up pretty quick, I'd appreciate that, sir.
Yep. I guess my primary issue here is that this online program, it leaves a potential for issues. There's an online forum where kids could be posting things. And this is just something that came to my mind, and this is kind of the society that we're in right now. Give you an example. Kid post, I understand there's an open chat where people could put ideas out there, and say a kid post, hey, I'm posting, I want to be a cat. I want to be a cat. I want to identify as a cat in society. And people could offer their how they did that. And from what I understand, these are kids from different ages. So something that might be appropriate for a 10-year-old might not be appropriate for a 17-year-old. And they're all going to have access to the same program.
But again, it's
sounds-
monitored before it's anything.
But
I
it's
don't
going to
see
be
how
monitored for an age group.
Sir, I don't see how anything you just said is actually even relevant to what COOT is offering potentially offering the district.
Well, it's a mental health program. It's for problems that children are having. From what I understand, there's no problem too big or too small. That's one of the slogans for this organization. So no matter what the problem is that our kid is having, they can go to this COOT thing before they go to their parents. And
That's absolutely not the case. I mean, the parent-child relationship is the parent-child relationship, and the parents are absolutely an important aspect of what we do. But what's really important to understand here too is this is not, while it's a pilot here in Pennsylvania, it's been used for a number of years, again, in the UK. Students are students, kids are kids. We've reduced suicides. We've reduced suicidal ideation. We've reduced self-harm. We've seen progress. And a lot of it, and by the way, most of what's used in this is not a chat, is not the one-on-one. It's the preventative learning opportunity for that student to understand coping mechanisms and other types of things with peer-reviewed, research-based, absolute, clinical information that they review and that they can learn from.
Mr. Baldwin, if we could,
I'm
if
just gonna
we
end
could
the-
just
I
wrap that
understand.
up pretty
Yep.
quick. I mean, there's still other members of the public here and plus
I understand.
members for
And
comment, please.
maybe I could just ask, maybe before a decision is made on this, if there is some statistical information that could be provided for the public to review and the board to review, since he mentioned that, there's, they've seen some changes in, the suicide rates in the UK.
There you go. That information is right there. You can take a look. It's the last
Thank you.
page.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Baldwin,
Thank
very
you.
much. Anyone else?
Good evening, Beth Marachko. I'm sorry about not being able to look at you. I just have some mental health.
Can you talk more into the mic?
Sorry, I have a migraine today, but I felt that it was important for me to come over here. As a citizen of our school district, I would advise and counsel you to possibly table implementing this program until we can look further into it? Because earlier I heard you say that you had 3 or 4 board members review this. Well, should all of you review this before bringing it? And wait a minute, I believe we also have the right to have 3 public hearings. I know you are required to give us 3 public hearings to implement this new policy. And I am advising and counseling, please, someone table this until next month so we can have a second reading on this, because I'd like to be able to see and read and follow the money. Thank you.
Ms. Marat,
It's not a policy, correct?
It's not first of all, it's not a policy.
Well, then it's a program,
It's a program that we're offering to.
an educational program, then we have the right to see this 3 times. And obviously only 4 of you have seen this, so I think every one of you should be accountable on this.
It's my second time. And
Yeah,
it's,
but the 3 time isn't for you, it's for us. That 3 times is
It's a
for
tool.
us.
It's not a policy. It's another
It's
tool
still
to
something, you're
help.
giving this man an
Ms.
office in our building.
Ms. Marashko, if you could please allow the board member to answer your.
I
question.
understand, but you just said you're giving him a room.
But please engage in a conversation, let him answer
right.
your question and.
this. What we're missing here is how many kids may be apprehensive to go and actually physically see a counselor. Or to talk one-on-one with a counselor, where kids are so inclined today to use their electronic devices, knowing that they may have access to someone professionally that can help them with something they're struggling with, that's not going to cost us any money, that special education might be one of the largest demands for resources on this district. So mental health and education do go hand in hand. It's a big part of what we do here. And anyone that we can help out with something like this, that's protected by the law, that gives them access to 24/7 professional counseling and monitoring. I don't see the downside to it.
I see the downside as being that parents are not being involved in this and that it's the counselors that are going to be making these decisions. When is a parent notified? When is a parent notified that their child is having an issue? You have our children more hours during the day. Yes, you do. And yes, it's your responsibility to make sure they're there. But when is it the school's policy saying, hey, Johnny is having this kind of an issue. Let's call the parents and inform them this is what we've caught. And let us make a decision with the parent. But the way this sounds, and I can't read, but the way this sounds is that these counselors make that decision, not the parents with the counselors. Where's the tie with the parents in this program?
Ms. Marashko, I mean, you kind of answered my personal feelings on this matter. If the child is having issues and they seek this anonymous help, if you will, and the parents don't know about it at that point, I mean, it's just another avenue for these children to kind of,
Aren't you responsible to notify the parents?
not in this scenario, no.
Well, then you're becoming the parent.
Pardon me?
Then you're becoming the parent making these
no,
decisions.
Not at all. I mean, this is an online health program. That's mental health program for these children.
Okay, who's making the mental health decisions? The parent or the counselor or you?
The professionals.
Well, then is not the parent the professional?
It's not mandatory. You can't opt out.
You're gonna, are you going to honor
Your
the
child does not have to
opt-outs?
participate.
Are you going to honor the opt-outs? Because that was
Yes,
something that was
I
said.
can't.
And
She-
then the
Ms.
opt-outs,
Roscoe, please, 1 second. She's asking if we are going to allow the children to opt out, or are we making this mandatory?
No, absolutely not. It's not a policy. It's just another tool.
okay, let's tie into this 14-year-old law. Are you going to allow the parents after they're 14 to opt out? And then you're gonna let the student make that decision to sidetrack the parent's decision? Even though it's a Pennsylvania law?
School district, just to clarify, the school district can decide that opt-out can be for anybody. That'll be part of as we develop it with the school district. So if you decide opt-out is for 6 through 12 for this particular district, then that's how we will do it. Because again, it's a voluntary program for the students to sign up. And I just want to correct, there is no office or anything being in, when I said inside what I meant was, Tooth is going to open its Pennsylvania office inside the boundaries of the school district. Where we'll have an office space that will be in the boundaries of the school district. We're not going to have an office.
What does that mean?
Meaning it's going to be in a town that's part of the school district. That's where our office will be.
I just like to see a little more parent involvement, and I would like to see a little more public, and I would like to have three readings on this before we implement something that you consider a tool. It's still an educational process, and I'm just advising and counseling. Please table this.
Thank you, Ms. Marashko, for your comments. Anyone else? Are there any board members with any questions? Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on, I mean, we had a brief presentation, that was held by SiteLog IQ. Gentlemen, if you could take over, please.
Thank you, Rick, and good evening, everyone. I am Rick Evans. I'm president of SiteLogic Northeast. With me tonight is our executive vice president, Garrett Lewis, and our senior business developer, Phil King. So we have forwarded a presentation to the district. I'm here to add some context to that this evening and try to get through it relatively quickly. I'd like to keep it informal. So if you have questions, just stop me, ask me a question. If I'm going too fast or you didn't catch something. So SiteLogic is a company based out of Harrisburg. We serve public schools in Pennsylvania. That's pretty much over 90% of our business is public schools. It's what we do. And we serve them for facilities, anything from facilities maintenance all the way through to construction. So we will help you maintain your schools, how to do predictive analysis, all the way up. If you wanted to build a brand new high school, we could build a brand new high school. So a very, very comprehensive set of services. We have a very deep bench of professionals, engineers, architects, construction personnel, essentially the entire gamut of what it takes to do both facilities maintenance and new construction. A little bit about our company. I'm sorry, this is the agenda tonight. So we're going to talk about SiteLogic, then we're going to talk about facilities planning and our approach to it. It's a very unique approach. We have a tool that we developed, MySiteIQ. It's unique to the industry. It's a cloud-based tool. We're very proud of it, and it is a very powerful tool for school districts to utilize when they're trying to maintain your real estate. And it's by default, school districts have a lot of real estate and it's a lot to maintain. And you're in the business of education. What we want to do is help you maintain your facility so you can focus on education. I have a demonstration here. We're going to skip that tonight just in terms of time. It gets a little lengthy if we get into a demonstration of the tool, but I will talk about it. And then we're going to talk, I'm going to finish up about our innovative approaches to construction and how we take a lot of construction risk out of the project for the school district. And I'm sure you've heard a lot of nightmare projects with change orders and schedule delays and things like that, and how we can manage all that for the school district. And again, keep you focused on education. A little bit about our company. Right now, we have roughly $1 billion of school construction under contracts during various phases, from anywhere from early design to project closeout. We're working with 43 different school districts right now. Roughly, we've done over 300 projects in total with over 100 school districts. So we have a very, very large market share in Pennsylvania public schools. We cover the entire state and a very loyal customer base as well. We'll talk about our approach. We believe, we're big believers, that the least expensive thing a district can do is properly maintain their facilities. That's where we start. And we also believe that a properly maintained facility and design facility can enhance the education that happens within that facility. So a facility can actually work against your education or it can work for it. So we're not only just looking at the facility itself and the systems within the facilities, we're looking at how it can affect your teacher's abilities to teach in a classroom. We have a very holistic approach. I get into a little bit later, but you can hire us as a single prime contractor. So there's basically one throat to choke. We're responsible for design, construction, everything on the project. You don't have the finger pointing and things that go on in typical public procurement. Really good, really advantageous to the district. And then last of all, we're well versed in getting grant money out of the state. We are in Harrisburg. We have an in-house lobbyist. We also employ 3 consultant lobbyist firms that will work on your behalf to get as much grant money out of the state as you can possibly do. We get millions of dollars of grant money every year. And it's something that a service that we provide to the customers, we think is a very, very valuable service. That's many times gets overlooked, quite honestly, when looking at facilities maintenance projects. This is our tool. It's a very comprehensive tool. What we do is our engineers will come through, they'll do an assessment of all your facilities. Look at everything, what we say is from blacktop to rooftop, anything from your driveways to your roofing systems, mechanical systems, lighting systems, even educational components of the facility, ADA compliance, hazardous materials. So a very, very comprehensive study. We take all the information, we put it into a database. So it's a lot of information. The way we do it and what we're looking at, and I'm at slide 6. I don't know if you're looking at the presentations. Can you see these slides?
We have the power. I mean, I don't know if you're exactly where you're at.
Do you have handouts of the presentation?
Pardon me?
Does everyone have a handout of the presentation? Right?
Yeah, with the agenda.
We sent it with the agenda, yes, sir.
Okay, good. I'm on page, so just to keep everybody, I'm on page 6 of the presentation. What you're seeing here is the chart, and the chart has a lot of different items on the chart, and these are our areas of concern or evaluation within the facility. As you see, they're marked in green, yellow, or red. So what this does is we can take a tremendous amount of data and information and boil it down very quickly to red. That's a problem. If it's green, it's good. It's good for 20 years. We don't have to pay attention. If it's yellow, then let's have some discussion about it. You probably have 5 to 10 years where we can do a planning around replacement of those systems that are in that yellow area. Red is probably something that needs to be addressed relatively near term. In addition to that, we do utility benchmarking. So we're going to look at how energy efficient your facilities are. If they are not as energy efficient as they can be, then perhaps you're wasting some money on utility bills, so you don't have to. So we're also an energy services company, so we can come in and help get your facilities as energy efficient as you can, so that you're, again, not wasting money on utility bills. I'm now on page 8. There's some graphs on this chart. This, again, it speaks to the educational functions happening within the facility. We bring in data loggers to really see what's really going on within the facility, and we're measuring, in one case, temperature and relative humidity. Comfort does affect a child's ability to learn within a facility, and comfort is a factor of 2 things. It's a factor of temperature and humidity within the space. So you can get the temperature right, but if it's humid in there, you're not going to be comfortable within the space. The other thing humidity does is it carries contaminants within the air, pathogens and other contaminants, dust mites, things like that, allergens that can affect the student and sensitive students and their ability to learn as well. So we're going to evaluate this and probably come back with systems. If there are, we do find problems within the facility that mitigate these problems. The lower chart we're looking at is carbon monoxide. What you can find as a classroom full of students. As you go through the day, the amount of carbon dioxide within that space could go up if the space isn't properly ventilated. We're looking at real data here in the chart I'm looking at here, that it's 600 parts per million in the morning. It's over 3,000 by the afternoon. There's been cognitive function analysis done actually by Harvard that show that as CO2 rises, your cognitive abilities drop dramatically. It's kind of a silent killer when it comes to education. So we want to look at these things and make sure that your child has the best opportunity they have to learn within this classroom environment. Lighting is another. I am now on page 9 of the presentation. Lighting can actually either promote or work against education. A lot of times, particularly companies are coming in and retrofitting districts with new LED lighting, which is great. Except a lot of the times, all they do is take the existing light out and replace it with a new one. Many times what happens is the classroom is then very overlit. And I can tell you from the district my daughter's in, she says all their classroom lights are off, and when they turn them on, she gets a migraine because it's so overlit and there's so much glare within the space. So we're going to come back through and make sure that every educational space within the facility is properly lit, because that does affect your ability to learn in that space. Yeah, these slide 10 is simply some references to the importance of air quality and learning. So I'm going to kind of gloss over that and move on to. This is a little more in depth. I am now on slides 11. What we're looking at is, this is where, after we've done the study and we have the big database going, we'll condense the database into the things we really want to look at. So the reds and the yellows in here, and then we do a prioritization of those. This is part of the prioritization process. So that, and there's multiple factors that go into how do we prioritize it. So we come back to you with our priorities for what we think you should address. However, the biggest factor is, what does the school district want to address? And then from these lists of hot items, we lay out a plan. The plan is an annual plan, so we may come back with it however many years you want to go, 5 years out, 10 years out. Each budget year, before you set your budget, we'll prioritize and select the items that you want to address in that calendar year. Then you put that in your budget. As we get into calendar year, we go into design and development of the selected projects. And we do have in-house engineering design. So we believe that if we've done the study and we do the design, you're going to get the most comprehensive, proper solutions to those. We then take it out and we do bid. We're big believers in bidding work out. We have a process that we use where we don't have to take the low bid. Lots of times the low bid contractor is not necessarily the best contractor for the job. Unfortunately, in Pennsylvania with low bid procurement, all someone needs is to be able to bond the job. They can bid the job. They don't have to provide customer service. All they have to do is get a low price and they have the job. We, on the other hand, live and die. Our work is negotiated. It's all negotiated. We have to do good work for our customers or they won't hire us again. Let's get through this process. Another aspect we can do is demographic studies. I don't know that sometimes that's of interest to the school district. Sometimes it's not. Is the district growing? Is it steady? Is it lowering the student population? Is it declining? That can be part of an analysis of your facilities and what facilities you want to keep online or you may not want to keep online, or whether you need to make additions to those facilities or not. We also look at how those facilities being utilized educationally. So it's something we call our functional use analysis. PDE has a formula for the capacity of a school facility. It's decades old, and honestly, it's really not that accurate. So there's been a lot of mandates for things like special education that require classroom space that are not accounted for in the PDA formula for the capacity of a school facility. What we can give you is a much more accurate depiction of, is this facility at full capacity or is it not at full capacity? And should we be looking at additions or now, or will we be looking at 5 years from now? So that type of long-term thinking also goes into the study. Life safety code compliance, again, we're going to go through and make sure all your life safety systems are up to code and maintaining. Fire alarm systems, I'm a huge believer in fire alarm systems, save lives. It is the single most important life safety system in your building. Not a single person has perished in a public school in Pennsylvania since the day fire alarm systems were mandated in schools. 100% safety record. So we will make sure that those systems are compliant and your buildings are safe. Same with ADA. A lot of ADA stuff is optional. There may be things that the district elects to do because they're struggling within the facility. If you do end up doing significant renovation work, by code, 20% of that has to be applied to ADA. So you will have a study on hand, which by the way is required by the state to have an ADA study on hand. So this will satisfy that requirement. And in the case where you are doing some major renovations, you're required to spend 20% on ADA. We can go through and decide where to best apply those dollars in that case. Some of the districts we work with around here is Old Forge, Milton, State College School District, Lower Marion, East Stroudsburg, Penridge, Kutztown, the Chamonix. There's some of the, just to give you a sample of some of the districts we're working with. Relatively close to this area. We do a lot of work in Pittsburgh area. We do a lot in Southeastern. Northeastern Pennsylvania is relatively new to us. We're relatively new, even though I actually grew up in the area. I'm from Clarkson, grew up in Clarkson with Abington Heights. We haven't done a lot of work up here, and we really want to make a big impact in this area and bring all the great things we're doing up to Northeastern Pennsylvania. So we very much interested in having Wyoming Valley West as a customer up here. I'm now on 16. What this is Old Forge School District. These are the types of things we provide as part of our study. So on the upper left, we're looking at the existing conditions. It's the lobby to their auditorium. On the right is a conceptual 3D drawing of what it's going to look like after the renovation. So same thing on the bottom, the inside of the auditorium is the existing conditions. On the right-hand side, it's what it will look like post renovation work. So as we're doing these studies, as we're going through doing these things for you, we will give you renderings and pictures and a lot of nice stuff to help you make good decisions on what you want to do with these spaces. Another interesting thing we've done in that, they needed some additional space. An addition would have been very expensive for that school district, but they had some underutilized space in an LGI. We took that LGI, put a second floor, made it a two-story space, captured the entire bottom space for classroom space, and then the upper space for administration and nurses' offices. And we also added some SGIs above the library. So very, very creative in terms of capturing space within the facility. It's much more cost effective than putting an addition on the space on the building. So lobbying for funding opportunities. So there are multiple grant opportunities out there. I think from RACB to multimodal, PennDOT, depending on whether you're working outside the building. The multimodal is for pedestrian safety. It's been a very lucrative grant program for public schools in Pennsylvania. We've been lucky enough to get our districts awarded, I think somewhere around $5 or $6 million of funds out of that. It pays 75 cents on the dollar. So if you are having concerns of parent drop off, pedestrian safety, site lighting, things like that. This is a very good way to get those problems solved at 25 cents on the dollar. So the program is slated to close next year. We don't know if it'll actually close or not. But there is 1 more year window to take opportunity to look at this grant. And as I said, there's several other grants. We have a good understanding of all the grants out there. We know the legislators, it does take a little bit of political push to get the money to come your way. There's a lot of people looking and for these grant opportunities. We can help nudge it in your direction. That's about what I'd like to talk about in terms of our facilities maintenance or my site IQ tool. This tool is something that it's actually a loss leader for us. We pay for freight. We come in, we do this tool. It's a lot of, just because it's free though, doesn't mean it's not good. We put a tremendous amount of time and effort to it. It's a very valuable tool. What we ask from the district is we'd like to get the opportunity to do the construction of any work that comes out of the tool. It's not an obligation, but we'd like to give us a shot at the construction. Let us show you what we can do with it. If you like us, keep us around. If you don't, there's no obligation to keep us around. You can give us a boot anytime you like. But we believe in what we do. We believe we have the best construction delivery means out there available in the state of Pennsylvania. We believe in ourselves, so we will do the tool in believing that we are going to deliver excellence to the school district. And you're going to be happy with us and keep us around long term. Some of the advantages. In 2016, we amended the law for the Esco program, energy services, or guaranteed energy services delivery system to expand the use and really use that procurement method to bring design build to public schools. I started my career in Washington, D.C. doing a lot of private sector construction. I saw how it was done in the private sector. It's all design build. It's less expensive, it's faster, and it's higher quality work. It's just a vastly superior system, particularly in Pennsylvania, which is only one of 3 states that requires school districts to have 4 prime contracts. So you have a architect, engineer, and you have a minimum of 4 prime contracts. That essentially makes you the general contractor, and it requires the district to take on a lot of risk, probably a lot more risk than you're actually aware of. And it also leads to a lot of finger pointing. No, it was the engineer's fault. No, it was the contractor's fault. No, it was the architect's fault. And things don't get resolved because there's not one responsible party. What we do is we become the responsible party, one contract. Under that contract, there's a lot of advantages to the district, and I'm just going to pop down through those very quickly. One is consolidated construction schedule, because one thing I'm going to talk about a little bit, there's no change orders. So we give you a price in the beginning, no change orders. That's the price at the end. Because there's no change orders, we can accelerate our construction schedule. So we have put as much as $20 million of work in place in a single summer. In Woodland Hills High School, we did a complete renovation of a very large high school in a single summer. Just the fact that we compress the schedule. One, there's something that's construction called general conditions. The longer the schedule, the more it costs. That's not work that goes into bricks and mortars. It's just the cost of keeping people on site. That's a cost. But in the case of Woodland Hills, they would have had to gotten temporary classrooms. The cost of those temporary classrooms in that case was $2 million. For temporary, okay, $2 million didn't go into bricks and mortar. When we would have had to bring these classrooms in, spend the $2 million, take them out, $2 million lost. $2 million savings because we could do that much work in that short of time period. Preferred vendor selection. Again, we do a lot of work across Pennsylvania. We're doing anywhere from 500 million to $1 billion of work managing across the state. We know the contractors, subcontractor community very, very well. And I would like to say those contractors, we are their preferred vendor to work with. Because they do work in public bids. They don't know who the general contractor is going to be. They might be with someone good, might not. There's a number of bad players in that market. If they get stuck with the bad player, it delays the schedule, it costs them money. They know if SiteLogic is running the job, it's going to go boom, 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 like clockwork. They're going to get in, they're going to get out. It's going to be efficiently run, and they're going to make their profit on that job. We actually get better prices when the subs bid straight to us than they do on a public bid. We had a district down in near Harrisburg that actually asked us to bid out both ways. And one of the things came back and one member's like, I'm shocked. How did this happen? The same bidder on the public bid was significantly higher than the bid he gave you guys. Yes, that's right. And this is why. We're going to run a very, very good project. So, and we're going to be very cost effective. No change orders. I did mention that. By law, we cannot issue a change order. So there's one exception, and that's hazardous material. So if there is asbestos that we did not know about, districts are required to have asbestos reports. We go through the report. We're going to identify as much as we can. Every once in a while, the report did not identify some asbestos on that job. That's the only thing that we're actually allowed to come back for. But we do a really good job of coming report, identifying the asbestos, and then we will actually manage the abatement for you as well. So again, taking another thing off your plate. Again, very collaborative construction process. So there's a huge difference when you're on a publicly bid job. It's really every person for themselves. The general contractors doing what they do that's best for them. Your other contractors are doing what's best for them. Your designers are doing what's best for them. It's a sometimes confrontational relationship between them, between the district. When we take on all the risks, we become the prime. It becomes a very collaborative process. Everyone in the job, from the district to us, to all our subcontractors, to all the designers, have a single goal in mind. They are all pointed in the same direction. They all have the same objective. It's hard to put a price on this, but the experience, talk to our customers night and day from what you're going to get in a publicly bid project. And there's a value to that. Maybe it's an Advil, I don't know, or Pepto-Bismol, I don't know. It's very, very refreshing, I assure you, to work on a team, on a project in a collaborative method. Enhanced project closeout. When we do projects under the DISA, we actually do have to guarantee energy savings. So we have a guarantee, and we have to guarantee performance of any systems that we put in there. So if we put in a new heating air conditioning system in a building, we have a full year of what we call performance assurance. So we have a team of engineers overseeing the system, either on site or remotely, and making sure that system is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. In the case of a guarantee, if we've guaranteed a certain amount of energy savings and you don't achieve those savings, we have to pay your utility, the difference in your utility bill. And we don't like to do that. So if we do it once, we're going to come back. We're going to make sure we fix the problems and get it right. But most of the time, we just get it right from the start. We commission the systems, we get everything working properly. Very different experience from a public bid where at the end of the job, everybody just scatters and you have to chase them down, and you have problems and warranty issues or anything. It's can be very difficult to get those problems addressed. With us, one phone call, we're there the next day, we're addressing your problems, taking care of things. Construction projects are actually very, very complicated, and it does take time after the project to get everything working together and properly. We are there every step of the way. So. That's it. I'll stop right there. Open up for questions.
So if I may, what's the big difference between asset feasibility studies? Are they
Okay.
close to the same?
Significant differences. One, couple things about feasibility studies. One, they're static documents. So you get a feasibility study, but 4 years ago, it's a piece of paper that looks exactly like it did 4 years ago. Ours is dynamic. It's cloud-based. So it's constantly getting updated. It's always current. One big difference. The other piece of feasibility studies don't go into nearly the amount of detail that we're going into here. They broad brush a lot of things. I can't even count the number of feasibility studies where I've seen a statement like your heating and air conditioning system is beyond its useful life and it's going to cost you $50 a square foot to replace it. That's the extent of research that's done on it.
Okay.
One sentence. We're going to have 30 line items, detailed. And we're not going to tell you the entire system is beyond its useful life because that's probably not true. There's probably components that have 20 years of life left in them. And we're going to come in and say, no, this piping system here, we did some analysis, we cut pipe samples, we tested them. We don't have to replace it. You're going to save $1.3 million because you didn't have to replace that system. Very, very different approach.
Yeah, I'll just say this, in this state anyways, with architects, traditional feasibility study led projects are justification for spending money that you don't have. An asset condition assessment is about maintaining a facility, avoiding deferred maintenance and operating within the budget that you do have. So that we're spending money wisely. We're investing in facilities on an annual basis rather than throwing them away every 20, 25 years, which tends to be kind of what happens in this state, given the way the PlanCon program was structured.
Okay. And my biggest question, we talked about this the other night, but I want to clarify. You will help us do a 5 to 10 year plan,
Yeah, absolutely.
financial plan.
Yeah.
Like with our building.
Yes, that's the intent of my site IQ. It can be a 2-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan. You tell us how long you want us to go
Okay.
and how far. But once we assess the assets in your facility, I mean, as far as the planning process and the duration of the plan, that's very simple to do.
Okay.
Yeah. The difficult part is assessing the asset.
Okay. That's really all I have.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
I was gonna ask, within the programming, once it's developed, we said it's updated. Who does the updating? Is that yourselves or the district or a combination?
It can be a combination of us both. Typically it's us though. We prefer to make the updates, especially if they're technical in nature. But if we're just moving projects from one year to the next, like say we've deprioritized something that was originally budgeted for in 2023 plan year, we're moving it to 24, 25. That's something that the facilities director could easily do.
Okay.
And we can provide various levels of access to the tool, depending on the employee or who all you would want to provide that access to.
Thank you. Anyone else? Are there any residents or taxpayers that would like to address the speaker this evening? Good. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your presentation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Moving on, the work session here. Any questions on items for the board information 1 through 9? Anybody? Mr. Tosh, if I could ask just really quick, the IU and the partial hospitalization, please.
Okay, the partial hospitalization is just a clinical recommendation that's made by a psychiatrist. It's a mental health component for students with significant social and emotional needs. It's been something that we've had a partnership with the intermediate unit for years. Kishba Behavior Services underneath is a service that we've used in the past also for a little bit more intensified needs for some of our younger students.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh. Any other questions on those?
I did have one question, just so we're clear on the bus tracks. Currently, we're paying, so I make sure I understand correctly, we're paying about $4,300 annually. There's a new web version, it's about $6,500 annually, but the advantage is that it includes 10 user accounts.
Yeah, yes. Mr. Dixon, would you mind addressing, helping Mr. Hardwick there to answer it clearly?
I need lots of help.
Huh?
I need lots of help.
Right, currently Bus Tracks is a service that we use to roster our students on all of our buses and routing. But it's only accessed on our server. So in our 6 buildings, if you're on Bus Tracks, you have to be logged into our server to access it. It's very slow and it doesn't work. If 2 or more people are logged in. So they've updated their service to a cloud version, an internet-based version, which will then allow me to give secretaries of each building access and then access it anywhere. So if I'm out and about, or like today, I wasn't in school, I would be able to access Bus Tracks using the internet from anywhere. So what they said they would do for us is, because we're currently in a contract with them for that $4,300 license, if we agree, they'll update us now. And then next year, when our contract is up, is when we would start paying that new fee for that version. So we would get essentially, the rest of the school year for the old version. That makes sense.
So we won't owe them anything until we renew the contract, is that what you're saying?
Correct, like in July, I think is when it's up at the end of June.
So it's not just the 10 users, it's actually accessibility from various points and multiple people at one point in time.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Dixon. Anything else? All right, moving on. Committee reports. Mr. Damascus.
Yeah, just update for two things. For athletic, we had some parents that asked about not bleachers, dugouts for the softball field. So we had A&E drop a couple plans, so we'll look at that and look at costs, and also maybe get the West Side CTC involved to do the work for us. So that was that. And then for technology, just we had a couple of students come talk about the esports program. So there's a little bit of communication through there. And so working with our IT, Anthony, the difficulty with that is allowing is the equipment. These are games that are played on computers through the internet. So they would need a computer and they need the internet, really is what they need. So a lot of the students own their own computers. However, it's a difficult thing to allow access on our servers or our network through that hardwired connector. It's kind of feeding through the fire hose. Whereas with Wi-Fi, you could control it and put a lot of safety protocol and stuff on it. With the direct connection, you're opening up everything, and it really is not a good thing to do. So we're going to have more calls, but I think the recommendation, the options there is either we allow them on that network, which I don't think is a good one, just for cybersecurity alone, and among other things, now where all the these geniuses out there now. The other option is we could buy the hardware. However, when you look at expenses for these machines, the power for these computers, you don't do it with a simple little desktop. You need some power in that computer to do it. So you're averaging about $1,000 just for the computer alone, and then of course you need the high-speed internet. So we're having a meeting next week to kind of finalize or get some plans, but that's kind of our preliminary looking at it right now. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Damascus, and looking forward to the update. I'll go buildings and grounds. Mr. Guevara, could you help us with where we're at with that heating project at the high school? Touch base on the Esco grant for the lighting. Are we close to completion on that? And the ADA stalls at the bathrooms down the stadium, please.
Well, first of all, I'll start off with the Esco project that we're completing right now in the entire school district. We looked at this project several years ago. We looked at it as a pay by savings only project, trying to look at lighting to pay for some of the other construction stuff that we did within buildings. Right now, it was a $2.2 million project. All of the lighting that was part of all of the buildings in this project are complete, except for some light standards at State Street. As part of the savings of that over a 15-year period, we looked at making some repairs to the district on upgrading our energy management system where our software was outdated, our Jace panels in State Street and High School and Wellness Center were outdated, no longer serviceable. And all the boilers in all of our buildings had no monitoring. They were just left on for weekends and not monitoring any control of the heating systems. So they would be left on all weekends because we were unable to monitor temperature. So what we did with the savings from the lighting in this project was we added Jace panels in the energy management system. And now we can at least control boilers to save energy by looking at outside temperatures, inside temperatures, and allow the energy management system through programming to control these buildings that you weren't allowed to do before, including during the day where things were just turned off and on just randomly in order to keep temperatures. They are all complete. I am right now in the process of finishing up. Program is completed. Just doing in-house programming right now. And so we are saving through the energy management systems that we did through the energy management through this project. Along with that, through the savings, we also looked at the switchgear at the stadium. It was an oil switchgear that was original to the stadium. When it was built, it was leaking. The district has been turning the switch on, the outside lights on with a stick basically for years to where it became unsafe. We took the savings from the lighting and what we will gain off the energy management of what we did with the Jace panels and the energy management system, and replaced all the feeds to all the lights. We replaced all the transformers to all the lights. There are 6 of them, along with the disconnects that were all rusted because of the age. We replaced the main panel feed and the gear in itself. Now, we're not completed with it because we're finalizing this right now because there are trenches that need to be done in order to get to the opposite side of the field. And the football season is still in, and they're waiting for the gear. But everything is in, and we're just in a process right now waiting for the season to end. And then they'll be able to do a disconnect and a reconnect, which will happen relatively quick. Also, through that, we have 14 in the high school. We have 14 air handlers, and these air handlers never worked properly. It was found out real quickly during COVID because we didn't have any exchange of air. So we took these air handlers and we made sure all the linkages and all the outside dampers and everything worked because it was issued both mechanically and they were pneumatics. We eliminated pneumatics, went to DDC, tied them into the Jace panels that we have in the energy management system, and we now control them, through the energy management system, and they all function right now. And they weren't functioned properly, for years. So we gained a lot of stuff, through this project to be able to pay for this. And it was a pay for savings project. It will pay for itself by about the 14th year. The last year, according to SAM3, when they did the energy audit, we will have a payback. I'm not sure exactly the amount of payback, but there's a payback in the 14th year.
14th, I'm sorry, 14th?
In the 14th year, yes, somewhere around there. So we have just a little left on that project. We are captivating all the savings at this point that we took from this project right now. The completion of the stadium, which will be soon. We're not going to captivate any savings off of that, really. That's actually costing us money, but it was a necessity that needed to be done. We did do some replacement of partitions, are installing new partitions at the stadium recently. We had no handicap stall. We replaced the existing metal panels with plastic partitions and eliminated one of the stalls to create a handicap stall in the male and female bathroom. We also are in the process, but we didn't start the boiler at the high school until Wednesday because they were just the company that we hired, 3B, are just freeing up a project that they were working on. So I spoke with them again today and they are coming on Wednesday. We have a hot water boiler in the building that they have to replace 147 tubes. We found 15 of these tubes that have been defective because it was noticed through just condensation coming through the exhaust that it was not heating correctly. And when we opened it up, we found out that this needed to be replaced immediately. So the board approved this and we're just waiting to get this started. It will take 2 weeks. To do this, we will have no hot water in the building. But we did install the hot water heater back in 2015 when they intended to do the replacement. So we will have enough hot water to at least do cafeteria dishes and pots and pans to clean up. But we will be without hot water for 2 weeks until it's completed with the hand sinks. And hardly anybody showers in the locker rooms, but that's where we lose our hot water up until it's completed.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrera,
Yep.
very much.
Frank. Can I ask just,
Absolutely.
I'm coming up for Esther's. Can Frank share a little bit?
Absolutely.
Just any of the
Sure.
Esther's project status, so
Esther's.
we don't have to have you sit down and get back up.
Yep. Esther's too. We have recently approved the project and hired a contractor through bidding. The project right now has been, a letter proceed has been sent out to the contractor through the bidding. There is actually 3. There is a general contractor because there is some removal of, it's an air handler replacement project. We're replacing 10 of 14 in the high school. It's about somewhere around $2.4 million. There's HVAC contract and there's the electrical contract because of some of the other work we're doing in there. But besides air handlers, we're also opening up some doors, installing new doors, because in order to remove some of this equipment is large. That could be cut up and taken apart, but some of the equipment, without doing knockdown units, the doors have to be, they're single doors, so they're put double doors in certain areas. In some cases, like the mechanical room, we were changing out some pumps and motors that need to be replaced. We have a mechanical gear in that room that has been defective for as long as I've been here. That is in dire need. We even had to put some separate disconnects on there in order to keep some of our HVAC going. We are also out of that project doing some replacement of doors. So it's just not the replacement of 10 air handlers. And the air handlers are room size. They're huge. They handle the entire high school. The reason we are not doing the other 4 is because of the cost. 3 would be in the auditorium. 1 is in an auditorium. With the cost of dehumidification in the auditorium, they become a little bit more expensive than the ones that we have, the other 10 throughout the educational side. Ionization will be put into these so that we can also do, besides exchange of air, we get some ionization done in there. Esther's 3, right now we're in the workings of about an $8 million project that we're looking at here in this building. It'll include installation of air conditioning. It'll include a change out of the boilers. They're designing a system right now to complete this entire building. That Esther's project also includes 2 other buildings, which would be 3rd Avenue, which is going to be a roof replacement along with rooftop units, air conditioning in all the classrooms at 3rd Avenue. Install air handlers for the gym and the cafeteria. And we're looking at Dana on a roof replacement. We're looking at air handlers for the gym and cafeteria in that building. So they're all still in design, but this building is the one they're concentrating on first. spent the entire day, Monday, with about 7 of their architects and engineers just doing drawings, measurements and going room to room.
Sounds like we need site logic.
Frank, what the SH3, when do we have to use that by? Isn't there a date?
Yeah, that one we have to use. SRS2 is by 2023. That's October 2023, and then 2024 with SRS3.
Is
I'm sorry, 24 for 3?
Yes.
Thank you.
so do you see any concern? I mean, it's a use it or lose it, right? So I mean, we obviously want to use it.
Well, we're gonna make sure it's done.
We have any concern? I'll ask you that every time I do. You have any concerns?
The
about
biggest
getting
concern
this all?
is getting equipment and hoping they do an extension possibly for SRS3. I mean, that nobody's saying that it's been requested. Nobody's said that there is. But because of equipment delays and trying to get equipment, there has been a request for it, but I haven't heard anybody say that there is.
If you can, just keep, if you see anything that's gonna prevent us from using all those funds that are available to us.
Absolutely.
So, thanks, Frank.
Thank you. Mr. Hardwick, anything else?
That concludes my master's report.
Very good, sir. I was contacted by State Representative Aaron Coffer, this morning, actually. He alerted me to the fact that Valley West School District will be receiving approximately a $300,000 safety grant. More details to come, but the vendor actually reached out to me, and there will be a meeting, tentative meeting set up for October 18th. So more to come next month. That's all I have. Mr. Keating, Contracts Personnel Committee.
Nothing under that. I have some things under finance.
Please, by all means, go right ahead and just might as well wrap it up.
Just two things. Next week on the 20th, we're going to the finance committee's going to meet with the business manager and PNC Capital Markets to do an overview of our debt service. Especially if we're going to consider something like the site log and looking at our facilities. I think it's important to know where we're at in terms of our ability to borrow and what type of flexibility, if any, we may have in our debt service program. And we look forward to bringing an update to the board at the next work session on that. And tomorrow there's a meeting. The district did receive an engagement letter from the Auditor General to do a comprehensive audit of district operations, finances, programs, and contracts for the period July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. And again, we look forward to updating the board about what's discussed at that meeting at the next work session and the particulars of what's going to be included in this audit.
Thank you, Mr. Keating. Anything else?
Nothing at this time, Mr.
Mr. Hardwick, do you have anything for the Special Education Committee?
Yeah, just to remind everybody, we're a newly formed committee, so we're kind of learning our way as we go, and it's a very complex area of the district. We did have an introductory meeting, and then recently Maria Barada, who's the special education director, along with Chris Bombach, who's the attorney with the special education group. They provided an overview of the special education system as well as the legal side of it for the board members. That was on September 28th. And I thought it was very informative, and again, would like to thank Maria, Mr. Tosh, who helped get things set up, and Chris Bombach, the attorney, for providing the information. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hardwick. Mr. Dickon, anything for the Safety Committee or?
No, just briefly, this week, we had a test run of a new weapons detection system here at the middle school. It went really well. We got just under 400 students through in under 20 minutes, about 16 minutes. So some schools came out to check that out. There's some members there in the morning. Also, our schools have been doing random and more frequently metal detector checks, and they've been going really well. 2 this year. Also, we have cameras going to be installed at the stadium in the near future. That is now up and running. And we are looking at doing some site assessment changes with the buildings and grounds crew to change some of our door handles in our buildings so they can't be secured from the outside. So that's where we're at with the last month. Any questions?
No.
Anthony, I did,
Yes,
just
sir.
out of curiosity, that 400 students with the current, how long would that have taken? So you said it took 16 minutes with the new one. How long did it take with the old one?
With the old one, it takes, we ran this morning, Mr. Bond. We did all students, but to do 400 students, it takes about 40 minutes.
So
Um,
we're more than half the time it's cutting out with the new one, is that?
Correct. And that was the first time, the team here ran them. So over time, they would get even a little bit better with it.
Mr. Vasquez, I was here, I stood right next to our security guard. It was really interesting to see. I was very impressed, and Mr. Dickon, thank you for setting that up. Hands down, they can cut that in half. My goodness.
No, that's exactly what,
They can get that
efficient
down to
and-
8 minutes, no problem.
Right. Yep. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, gentlemen.
If I
Thank you,
could,
Mr. Dickon.
I just want to make a comment. And thank you, Mr. Dickon. I was thinking earlier with the Booth presentation and a comment came up about, or aren't we here to just really educate the kids? Isn't that the basis? Yet we're here and we have to talk about investments in cameras. And we have to talk about investments of devices so the kids can come into school and be safe. So just wanted everybody to remind themselves that the face of the school district and the responsibilities is ever changing. And I think the board is trying to address all of these changes as best we can.
Well said.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Anything else for work session? Moving on to our regular meeting. Pardon? Can we take a 5-minute recess? Is that what you're asking? for?
I'm either that or I'm gonna excuse myself once we do the pledge.
A 5-minute recess, please. Is that 5-10-minute recess, please?
Five, two's fine.
Five.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, he's got a cookie. Brian, I told.
I'd like to call to order, Wyoming Valley West regular October board meeting, October 12th. On a roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski.
Here.
Mr. Damascus,
Here.
Mr. Hardwick,
Here.
Mr. Keating,
Here.
Mr. Usavage, Mr. Perfetto,
Here.
Mr. Majer, Mrs. Cassatt,
Here.
Mr. Camus.
Here. May we stand for a moment of silence and salute to the flag? Please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes from regular meeting in September 14th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Student representatives, Mr. John McLaughlin and Jacob LeBrock. And I have to say, thank you, boys. You guys are troopers, and I'm sorry about that.
They're usually in bed by this time.
Me too. Thanks.
All right, so at the high school, Spirit Week was held this week, or is being held this week at the high school. Spirit days include Country versus Country Club, Rainbow Day, Barbecue Dad versus Soccer Mom, and Spirit Day for Spartan Colors. 10 individuals will be awarded with Spirit Sticks at our pep rally on Friday. The homecoming parade will take place on Friday, October 14th. Anticipated arrival at the stadium is 6:10 p.m. Crowning of the court will take place at approximately 6:40. Members of this year's court are Claudia Siegfried, Jade McKenna, Luke Buss, Luke Bowen, Anaya Thomas, Courtney Deeroff, Jonathan Cardona, Javon Gamble, Amelia Hoffman, Paige Suda, Wyatt Stair, and Logan Eddy. A homecoming bonfire for high school students is scheduled for October 28th, prior to the last home football game on Saturday, October 30th. The homecoming semiformal will take place at the high school on Saturday, October 15th.
The Key Club is selling bracelets to benefit fellow Spartan Luke Hans. Wednesday, October 19th is Unity Day. Faculty and students are encouraged to wear orange to show support of kindness, acceptance, and inclusion. The PSAT was given today at the high school. October 31st will be an Act 80 day with an early dismissal. Student council will be volunteering at the Kingston Trunk or Treat on Sunday, October 30th. Spanish Club is sponsoring a pumpkin carving contest.
Thank you, men, very much.
Thank you for your patience.
See you guys.
Superintendent's comments, Mr. Tosh.
Excuse me, just a couple comments tonight. As I mentioned on Sunday night's robocall, our academic tutoring begins for an hour after school beginning this Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I do want to make sure that I clarify that. I may have said on the robocall Monday, all tutoring Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, beginning this Tuesday. The junior Spartans basketball, the elementary wrestling information, and building blocks information, as I mentioned, Sunday is also now posted on the district website. Chester Street Elementary PTO will be hosting Touch a Truck on Saturday, October the 15th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the playground across the street at Chester Street. The tickets are $5 per person and $20 for a family of 5. The kids will be able to see fire trucks, police trucks, and many more. There'll also be raffle baskets, plenty of food, and a bounce house. And I do want to add, the PTOs in this district do a great job of supporting students, and on behalf of the entire district, I'd like to thank all PTOs for their commitment to the Wyoming Valley West School District. Sometimes that goes unnoticed. Finally, summer PEBT card information is also now posted on the district website. Thank you, Mr. Camus.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh. Statements from interested citizens.
It's already here.
Hello, Board. James Baldwin, West Wyoming. I just like to ask the board to table the Kuth decision until at least the next board meeting to give the public an opportunity to research this program a little bit more before making a decision. I recognize that the mental health of our children is important, but I just don't feel that this program is incorporating the parents enough into that umbrella. I understand this is a pilot program, so my thought is, why not let some other districts try it out in the state and see what the parents and the school districts are saying about it? I personally think that we should be learning and figuring out ways to teach the parents to build stronger relationships with their kids, so the mental health problem can start to go away. We should be trying to foster those relationships between parents and students, because strong relationships with parents and students, we're not going to have some of this violence that we're seeing in the schools because the parents can be more involved. How we do that, I don't have the answers. None of us have all the answers, but I'm just saying this program, it personally to me, I haven't done enough research. It just seems like it's more drawing a wedge between parents and their kids as opposed to bringing them together, which is what I think we should be focused on. That's what I have to say. Like I said, I appreciate if you would just take until the next board meeting at least, so parents can actually look at this a little bit more and offer their insights into what they think of it, and maybe have some additional time for the other board members that didn't really research it as much prior to this meeting to look into it as well. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin.
Beth Marachko from Kingston. In reference to this COTS program, I believe it's the Sunshine Act violation of 703. Apparently, board, you said 3 members of the board have deliberated and saw this program. If that was the case, I'd like to see the minutes and any comments or discussions that were made through this meeting. And I would like to see if any official action was made without public notice. And the only remedy to this problem of being done behind closed doors is to table this program until we can see the notes of the previous meeting and those that were involved. Thank you.
Just to clarify, Ms. Marashko, I announced that it was for informational purposes and there was 4 board members present, which doesn't constitute a sunshine law.
But it wasn't an official act of them getting together.
There was absolutely no deliberations taking
Mr.
place.
Keating already said this is his second time saying it.
Absolutely.
We didn't deliberate on it.
Deliberation, so
I listened to a presentation.
there'll be a vote here today and there'll be.
How come the public is not on the deliberations on this then too? We had a 24-hour notice to do the research.
We're here
Just
now.
because it's in England doesn't mean it's good, or if it's here, it doesn't mean it's good. We need to do our own research.
Ms. Marashko, we are deliberating here now.
Yeah, but we didn't have enough chance to look into this to see what's going on. Just because you already had the advance notice doesn't mean that it's right or proper.
Well, we did. I mean, the board members did, but that's
Well, I believe
that's our public.
this is a violation of the 703 and the Sunshine Act. This is your first warning.
Ma'am, if you want to file ethics charges against me, by all means, please do.
It wouldn't be against you. It'd be against the attorney because he didn't advise you on the 703 policy of making it public.
No, ma'am, our attorney was definitely not there. I called the meeting myself.
That's fine, but Mr. Fellerman should be able to tell you that it is a 703 Sunshine Act violation, that the public was not aware of these things happening. We were only given a 24-hour notice and you've already seen it before today. How is that fair to the parents to make a proper decision on whether they want to opt out of this program or not? Because we're not able to see the complete program. Just seeing this slide presentation tonight and hearing words does not mean we have to do our own research. We have to do our own research.
Again, ma'am, it's not mandatory. It's a voluntary program, but thank you for your
I-
comments this evening.
I asked, how is Mr. doing with his sickness? Yeah, an update on him?
I can't comment at that.
Is he
I
doing
will not,
better?
I will not comment at that.
Well, please let him know we're praying.
Thank you for your consideration. Anyone else?
Hi, Melissa from Sourceville.
Melissa,
wanna-
could you state your last name, please?
Lee. You mentioned a $300,000 safety grant. When
Yes.
will we find information out about that?
It was just a brief announcement that I wanted to share this evening in our work session in a relaxed environment. More to come. Like I said, we're probably gonna have a meeting somewhere around the 18th.
Is
To
it
find
a
out more.
public meeting or,
No, it's just gonna be an informational meeting at this point, ma'am.
okay, and why are we giving students notice, advanced notice for metal detectors and locker checks?
I think that's part of the whole thing of why would you want to give them an advance notice?
Why would you? We do.
We don't, do we?
We absolutely give them advance notice. Yes, we do. So why are we giving them advance notice on locker checks and metal detectors?
Mr. Tosh or Mr. Dickon, would either you two care to comment on that?
The
I don't know if
students are
any
given
advance
advance notice. Yes, both of my daughters knew that there was a metal detector on a Thursday and a locker check on a Wednesday.
We can look into that for you. I don't have the
And
answer.
they actually announced it to them.
Okay.
That should not be allowed. Why do we do that?
We'll look into-
Sir, we don't know about that. We'll look into it.
We
Nobody knows.
definitely do not.
Well, I mean, my kids aren't psychic. They
We
don't.
can continue to argue about it, but we told you
Okay,
we
well,
don't
I'm
know
just
anything
letting you
about it.
know they're given advance notice.
Thank you. We'll look into it.
Also, hold on. I also agree with them. We should table it for a week or two, actually a month or two. Cause I did my research on it too. And I wanted to say one more thing. Let me see what else I want to say. Oh, the middle school. Why are we allowing the students outside the middle school to fight? They need to be brought in because the fights are happening in the morning before the school doors open.
So ma'am, I was here on one of the occurrences and they actually did it right next to Officer Sinofsky.
I watched videos because they're being airdropped to all the kids in the school, which shouldn't be allowed.
Ma'am, the only thing I could say is it's pretty brazen to start a fight right next to an officer.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, I bring my daughter to school and there's several, like about 10 minutes before they come in the store, even 15. The fights are starting right there. And they are doing it in front of an officer, but we need to bring them in.
We're trying our best. I was here, well, this would be my second time that I witnessed them, and I think our staff does an excellent job.
I can't hear you.
I
Actually, we
think our
couldn't hear
staff
you.
does an excellent job trying to get these children inside this building safely.
I understand that, but I'm saying we need to bring them in a little earlier.
Yeah, there are times when contractually, the teachers aren't here in the morning and there's no supervision in here. So if they get dropped off a little bit early, it's hard to monitor all of them. I know Mr. Bond has done a really good job with trying to get people out there out front. We did have that unfortunate incident. It's being addressed. We've talked about it and we met with it. And if we can get them in earlier, we will. But contractually, at times, when people aren't in the building to supervise and you bring them in, if there's an accident, there's trouble with that too. But it's a balancing act. And I thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Why also can't we have two cops out there? If you notice the cop, he struggled to stop the fight. He had a hard time. It was one officer and he helped didn't come to him for several minutes. And those girls were really going at it. So we need to have two officers out there so that they can help each other because it was out of control. And I just don't want to see somebody really get hurt because it went out to the road.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Tosh, can we make an announcement on your robocall? Like, please do not get to school at so many minutes before.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if that's something we could look into doing.
Yeah.
Just a reminder.
You good, Mrs. Cassatt?
Yes.
Anyone else? General recommended action items, on items 1 through 9. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Brzezinski. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Dabascus. On a roll call, please.
Mr. Keating.
Keating.
It was
Oh,
Keating.
I'm sorry, Mr.
my
Keating. I
voice.
apologize.
It sounded like-
Mr. Keating, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. Pazinski,
Yes.
Mr. Dabascus,
Yes.
Mr. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mr. Keating,
Yes.
Mr. Perfetto,
Yes.
Mrs. Cassatt,
Yes.
Mr. Kamis.
Yes. Thank you. Staff recommended action items, items 1 through 15. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Brzezinski on a second,
Second.
by Mr. Dabascus. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Dabascus,
Yes.
Mr. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mr. Keating,
Yes.
Mr. Usavage, Mr. Perfetto,
Yes.
Mrs. Cassatt,
Yes.
Mr. Kamis.
Yes. Finance recommended action items, items 1, bills for payment and finance manager's report and treasurer's report. Everybody have a chance to review those? May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
By Mr. Brzezinski, second
Second.
by Mr. Hardwick. Roll call, please.
Mr. Pazinski.
Yes.
Mr. Dabascus.
Yes.
Mr. Hardwick,
Yes.
Mr. Keating,
Yes.
Mr. Perfetto,
Yes.
Mrs. Cassatt,
Yes.
Mr. Kamis.
Yes. Board member comments. Mr. Dabascus?
You know, I would just like to comment on the comments made about the program that we just voted on starting, and it is a pilot, and we have some issues here, and if it's probably not a perfect solution, nothing is, but you can always opt out of it. You don't have to join it. You don't have to use it. But if it saves, one child, or, it's well worth it. So I hear your concerns. But I voted for it because I think it could help more than it'll hurt. So that's it.
Mr. Kamis, can I say one thing
Yes,
also?
sir.
I appreciate the parents that come, Mr. Baldwin, you probably asked the $64,000 question. How do we get more parents involved in their child's education? And if you can crack that nut, that would be a tremendous accomplishment. But I have to say something. I sit here and I listen to a lot of the parents that come up here and talk about mental health. And I greatly appreciate people coming up here and voicing their opinion. But I don't know if you're aware, we're concluding the 5th week of the school year. We've lost 2 children in this district to tragedies. And I can tell you, from being in the middle school and the high school, days after those tragedies, they were some of the toughest days for myself, the administrators, the teachers, and the counselors. I'm going to tell you something about guidance counselors. I've always had a great respect for them. But what our guidance counselors have done through the first 5 weeks of the school year with 2 tragedies has been incredible. We have now a mental health team that meets, and what they've done has been incredible. Everything that they're doing for children. And I know it might not be the most popular or the most politically popular thing to do, but to hear that a program might come in to the district that's for free, that's research-based, that's preventative, that uses coping strategies that these children so desperately need, that's voluntary, and the best part is parental choice. I think that's a home run personally. And like I said, I wish anyone who may not agree with it could have seen the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, the seniors, the 7th, the 8th graders, when we had the tragedies the first 5 weeks, when the students came back to school, when they had to come in and talk to the counselors and pour their hearts out for losing a peer, to see a child at that age. No child should have to go through that. No family should have to go through that. But to see how many kids were coming down, spending hours on Monday, hours on Tuesday, just because it was a face. Obviously, the kids aren't at home, so they don't have the parents, but to be able to go to someone and to pour your heart out for that person to listen to, that's just something that I don't think at times we really comprehend how important a component that is. So I just think that when we talk about coping strategies and dealing with some of the problems that we deal with in schools today, from divorce to deaths to all of the problems that we have, I think schools are just a great vehicle and a great outlet to help support. And in conjunction, working with the parents, I think it would be a situation that would be tremendous. And like I said, it would be a home run. But as you said, Mr. Baldwin, if we could get everybody on board, hopefully that would solve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh, for your words. And they're definitely very well heard. I appreciate them. Anyone else? Mr. Hardwick?
I'm just gonna echo and say thank you, Mr. Tosh.
Yep.
Couldn't said it better myself. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for presenting Couth tonight.
Well said, Mr. Tosh.
Cassatt, any comments?
Nope.
Mr. Keating?
Nope, I echo what Bill and Janet said. Dave, very well put.
Mr. Brzezinski?
We're good.
Jack? any-
I appreciate what Mr. Tosh. Thank you.
Well, our next scheduled meeting, we have a work session on Wednesday, November 2nd. It'll be at 7 PM. And we have our regular meeting the following Wednesday on November 9th. And it'll also be at 7 PM. We have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.